Hi everyone, welcome to the shack for this video, the 22nd weekend since the initiation of lockdown in the UK. We're getting on for half a year and how time has flown. This weekend I think the weather's predicted to be pretty terrible. It's been blowing an absolute gale here today, so much so actually that my 4-meter vertical coaxial collinear, which you can see there swaying in the breeze, well it's more than a breeze, managed to work its way underneath my G5RV. And I've been out at work today. When I got home, it was on the wrong side of the G5RV in contact with it, and I was sort of sat here looking at it thinking, oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to take the whole thing down, and then walked away, came back literally 5 minutes later, and it's now the right side of the G5RV again. So that's just an example of how strongly the wind is blowing. My Diamond X300, on the other hand, is hardly moving at all with its 4-5 meter aluminium telescopic pole. The good thing about these fishing rods is that they do flex in the wind, and obviously I've got them, they're a bit close here really, the G5RV and this antenna, but there you go, you can actually see it in action. It's probably going to force its way underneath again, but they do flex a lot, but other than that there's no real damage done. And I've never had a wire break using these fishing poles for support, because the wire here it isn't very taut anyway. There's just not quite enough room, but everything sort of flexes with the wind, and I've never had a wire break. Interestingly, so saying that, this morning we did a good thing. Myself and 2 other Harwell Club members, G8DVK and 2E0OXF, went back to Didcot, and we helped an old guy, I say old, I'm not being rude, he's 93 years old, so an elderly gentleman who's been licensed since 1949. His call, and you'll be able to tell how old his license is. His call sign is Golf 3 Golf Golf Golf. And getting, I suppose, towards the end of his life, I don't really know the reasons why, but he decided he wanted to get back into ham radio, and his daughter contacted the club and sort of was asking what radio perhaps he should buy. I suggested a 7300 because it's got a large display, etc., and it's one of the easier to use radios, I believe. So he bought one, and he bought an MFJ matching unit, and we set up an end-fed wire for him this morning, and he's pleased as punch with that. So that was something that we did today. So I suppose that counts as a weekend activity if the weekend starts on a Friday morning. It was nice to go to Didcot, spend an hour there helping an amateur who's been out of, well, certainly HF for many years, and then going to work. So that was enjoyable, and great to see the look on that guy's face. We supported his antenna actually with one of these fishing poles at one end, and then an aluminium pole similar to mine with a pulley at the top in his back garden. And as soon as we got it connected, we were copying French, German, Italian stations on 40 meters. I then phoned another club member, M0UHF, and told him to get on frequency, and he got on, and we worked him from Didcot. He's not far away actually. I think he's in the Aberdeen area. He coppered us 10 over 9. So this gentleman's got a very good setup now. In fact, I think he's got a better antenna than I have actually for 80, but we matched it on 80, no problem at all, and on top band. So we did a good thing. Feels good to have helped that guy do that. And this is one of the benefits, I suppose, of being a member of a club. You can get bogged down in politics with a club, but ultimately, when someone needs help, there's always someone in that club, who is willing to go the extra mile and help someone out. So that was really good. And staying on on that theme of antennas, my friend and colleague G1ZMA sent me a link to an article online regarding the modification of the G5RV for use on top band. So effectively a way of modding that antenna to that will then match on top band, and it's really simple actually, and it does actually completely make sense. I've never even thought of it. Some of you guys may already be aware of it, but basically what you do, I would go outside and was going to actually do it to my antenna this afternoon, but it's just the weather's horrendous. So I've got it on the computer here. So what you do basically is, this is the SO239 sort of socket that terminates from the ladder line, and there's a screw here, and you take that screw off, and then the ladder line terminals are inside here. And what you actually do is you have to buzz through from the two terminals on the actual socket itself, which of the terminals actually terminates on the center pin and which terminates on the outer casing. And what you actually do is you basically attach both sides of the ladder line to the center pin terminal on the SO239 socket, and then on the other terminal you attach a wire, and and then you run that wire and you attach it to your earth. And so obviously I have an earth in my back garden, a single earth rod with 28 radials, and apparently if you do that, a G5RV will match on top band, and presumably is usable with reasonable TX powers that won't result in arcing, etc. in your matching unit, because it's having to work too hard and breaking down. So that is something I'm going to try this weekend. Now, the problem with that is that the weather is absolutely horrendous. So it really depends on what happens with the weather. If the weather improves, then I'm going to give it a go. It would have been nice actually if the weather was nice today, because I would have set it up and used it on the sked later on top band and 80, but I'm not going to have time. So which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, I suppose in the end you just end up with a single, basically just a piece of wire is what you've got, and with an earth as a counterpoise. And so I suppose in reality, all it's really doing is replicating the end-fed wire that I've already put up, except that the G5RV is a bit shorter. Well, actually, it's not. It's a bit short. The radials are a bit shorter. The radiators, sorry. But then the ladder line, which I've forgotten how long it is, forms part of these, then forming part of the antenna. So yeah. But anyway, that's worth a go. So I'm going to do that. That's something I'm going to be setting up this weekend, and we'll see what happens. The next thing I want to talk about is this little beauty here, the Panasonic RF 3100L. Some of you will have seen, well, I've uploaded 4 videos now. So I bought this radio for 50 quid, and it was a bit of a risk. It wasn't actually the Panasonic that I really wanted. There's a later model whose serial number or model number escapes me. But I paid 50 quid for it, and I've always liked these kind of desktop form factor pannies from the sort of 80s and 90s. And I've tested it here in the shack, as some of you know, and performance is adequate. But the problem is that you can't attach something like a mag loop to it. In fact, one of my subs was interested to know how you attach an antenna to this, so I'm just going to turn it around and show you, although I may have shown this on a previous video. So what you've got basically are these clips, and you've got high Z, I think high Z, earth, and there's an FM, a separate FM, I think. I would need to put my glasses on, which are here, just to confirm that, because and then zoom in. Let's go, here we go. Yes, FM, and then you've got AM low impedance and AM high impedance. And so there's no means of attaching a mag loop. So, which means that when you're using it in the shack, obviously, you're basically just attaching pieces of wire to this radio. And as we all know, unfortunately, that as a strategy, as an antenna strategy, operating at home, it's not going to be very successful compared to using a mag loop, even in my house, in my new QTH, where noise levels here generally are much lower than my old QTH. So I took this radio, put it in the car with a reel of equipment wire, took it to the woods, which, as some of you guys will remember, I used to do that a lot, and sat there for a couple of hours and basically recorded some copies of various stations. And the latest two, I recorded Trenton Volmet with a really strong signal, which but that is possible anyway. But if you look at the latest two videos that I've uploaded, one is Radio Difusora Roraima, Brazil, 4875 kilohertz, and Radio Clube de Para in Belém in Brazil, 4885 kilohertz. And that signal from Belém is literally coming in like a local AM. And this was a radio whose kind of sensitivity was sort of questioned a little bit because it's really regarded more of a sort of consumer product, this Panasonic, compared to to that radio, the FRG 7700. So I think the overall consensus was that probably it wouldn't perform as well. And I'll be honest with you, I've recorded some signals on this radio out in the woods with I used 40 meters of wire. So I didn't go mad because I've been down there and used 100 meters. In fact, I've used more than that. I've used 200. I sat at Beveridge one day with earth rods at the leading end and a variable resistor to ground the front end. But I used 40 meters of wire, which I felt that's me sort of being a bit sort of more reasonable about it, and copied some signals that on the tropical band and some low power stuff, and heard those stations as well as I've ever heard them. Another one is Radio Verdace, which I can hear here on the mag loop. Copied that station. I think I've uploaded that one already, so you may have seen that one on this radio. So this radio is one very sensitive receiver, and this weekend, if the weather improves, I'm probably gonna go back to the woods because I spent a couple of hours there, and I do like proving radios, proving something new about radios, or not necessarily new, but just basically collecting something a bit more empirical in terms of performance, because people do judge radio equipment. The Eaton satellite was a very good example where one guy who's very well known reviewed it, said it was rubbish, and then everybody thought it was rubbish. And I'd like to think that I helped turn around the reputation of that radio. And it gives me great satisfaction to record some stuff on this particular radio that I think many people might not anticipate. In fact, I think a couple of my subscribers are already slightly dumbfounded about how good this radio is. In fact, Tam is one of them, my great friend, and I think his latest comment was probably the best 50 quid you ever spent, and at the moment that is exactly how it feels, because this is a seriously good receiver. I think it's maybe some of the styling. It's early 80s, and it's a bit there's a bit of chrome, and it's a bit sort of plasticky. It's not as professional a finish as either Yaesu really, the 7700 or the 8800. But underneath that plastic exterior is a very good receiver, and of course brilliant that it runs on batteries. So I just wanted to make that point about this radio. And yeah, if I get a chance this weekend, I'll be back out using it for sure. Just a very, very good radio. The other thing I'm doing is it's now official, the Diamond X300 antenna, which was loaned to me by M0KEP, my good friend, which is still standing. We've done a bit of a deal, and I've purchased it from him. Well, I say I've purchased it from him. I haven't actually given him the money yet, but we've agreed a price for it, so I'm going to hang on to it. Height is everything with VHF, UHF. Well, with all antennas really, but particularly on 2 meters and 77s, and it needs to be higher. But I'm not able to sort that out yet, but I will do. And as a consequence of that, I still haven't obtained reception reports on FT8 that are superior to my old homebrew collinear. Now, I did some testing with a Harwell Club member last week, or was it the beginning of last week, perhaps? And we did demonstrate that the gain is as per specification when you compare it to a collinear without any, or a homebrew collinear without any gain, and which is good. But actually, do you know what? As I actually record this video here, what I hadn't seen was any decoding of my signal in sort of northwest France. And 6 minutes ago it actually happened, and this was part of my kind of reason for thinking, well, although, you know, on FM we've demonstrated the gain, but yeah, on FT8 I hadn't been decoded. I hadn't got into northern France, so there you go. So I'm running FT8 and I'm going to carry on doing that, and then possibly, if I get a chance this weekend, I'm going to see if I can put an extension on the bottom of the supporting pole. It's telescopic, and see if I can raise it another couple of meters or so. Obviously, bearing in mind that it's very, very windy this weekend, so I've got to be a bit careful. Yeah, that's something else that I'll definitely be having a think about. And then I'm still studying. I'm not getting. This isn't going as quickly as I'd hoped. Although since last week, I'm now on chapter 4, which is basic circuits, which is pretty basic, and I'm writing my own notes on all of the parts of this book that are examined, and that's all of the parts I've explained before with the mortarboard. And what I'm finding is that, so I'm not even a quarter of the way through the book yet. I'm on page 22, and what's happening is that with my handwriting, I'm averaging, I'm literally matching the book. So right now I'm on the 22nd or 23rd page of notes, and I'm on page 22. So what that means is that to capture everything in this book, I'm going to have to write at least as many pages of notes as the actual book itself. And there's 100 pages. So plenty of work to do on that yet. It's sometimes that sort of thing can be a bit of a drag, but I'm finding it actually quite interesting, and obviously at the end of the day I have a vested interest in making sure that I completely understand, or as much as I can, so as that when I do the exam that I'll be ready. That I don't have an exam date yet, which takes the pressure off, but it's just as an example, you know, in terms of anyone who's got an intermediate license is planning to go full license, there's a lot of work involved, that's for sure, but it's worth it, you know, and I'm not going to stop until I've managed to get my full license, and then it's job done. So there you go, that's it. 22nd weekend since lockdown in the UK. I'll tell you what, there's no better place to be than sat in the shack after work, having a tune around on the radios, whether it's DXing, bit of shortwave listening, bit of ham radio. Love it, can't be beaten. We're so lucky to have this brilliant hobby that keeps us occupied in these difficult times. Yeah, I just wish all of you a great weekend. Hope you managed to do something with a radio, and keep safe as always. Keep the comments coming in on the channel. I know I'm rubbish. Those of you that have got your own YouTube channels, I just don't have the time to get round the other channels, which means that I do appreciate when you guys come to my channel and leave comments. And I'll always continue to reply to the comments on my channel from you guys. You know, I'm not going to stop doing that. I mean, maybe when I've got 4,000 subs, maybe when I've got, you know, many more thousands, that also might be impossible, but hopefully not. Just always appreciate the support, and please don't stop visiting the channel and commenting. And you know, last week's video actually here was much popular than the week before. I'm not sure why, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and as long as you keep watching it, I'll keep recording a daily update for sure. So anyway, keep safe everybody, and like I said, have a good weekend. And just before I go, there you go, just been decoded in Paris, or in the Paris area. Look at that, 5 minutes ago. Brilliant. 73s everyone, keep safe. Bye.